Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inspired Messengers show. I am your host, Mark Porteous. This series is designed to inspire, educate, and motivate you to recognize and share your unique gifts with the world. I'm incredibly blessed to work with amazing mentors and teachers who are aligned with my mission to empower other inspired messengers with the tools and support they need to thrive in their purpose of transforming the lives of others. It's such an honor for me to introduce my mentors and colleagues to you. I believe that we all have a very special message, including you. If you are inspired to share your message professionally as an author, speaker, mentor, coach, or healer, we're here to support you. So be sure to sign up for our free membership at inspiredmessengersnetwork.com. And if you have any questions, of course, you can post those right below this video, or you can email us at theteam@inspiredmessengersnetwork.com. I believe that your story and your personal experiences hold a powerful lesson that can help others while providing you a fantastic lifestyle of joy, freedom, and abundance. And your message may be meant for a handful of people or just one, or perhaps there are hundreds, thousands, or even more that could benefit from the lessons of your experience. Every life that you touch creates this ripple effect that reaches out further than you can imagine. And the more people you reach, the more ripples of positive change that you can create. And one of the biggest challenges for many of us heart-centered entrepreneurs is enrolling clients into our programs in a way that's aligned with our values without feeling weird or awkward about it, and still being able to get new clients that we can help in a bigger way. Now, our guest today will help us to see the enrollment process in a whole new light, and it'll give us some really cool tools to help others in a much bigger way. Sean Stewart is a speaker, coach, and business trainer for heart-centered entrepreneurs, coaches, transformation leaders, and service-based owners. Sean's main focus is helping his clients attract and enroll ideal clients and build a lucrative lifestyle-friendly business that they love. Sean's clients come to him to increase their sales and conversions, and many of them break 6 figures in 12 months or less through his programs. And top leaders in the personal and business development space like Ted McGrath, Mamie Batista, Kelly O'Neill, and Clint Arthur have brought Sean in on to build and lead their sales teams. Sorry about that. Sean has been able to enroll clients at $100,000 level from a single phone conversation. Sean's also been featured as an expert on NBC News, Fox News, and in the New Times. With 15 years of experience as a public speaker, he inspires entrepreneurs around the globe to achieve their grandest life visions. Hello, Sean. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark. Thanks so much for having me.
I have you white box. There we go. Okay. Now we see your face.
Okay. Hey, how's it going?
It's going very well. I'm really, really excited. We've known each other for a couple of years now. We met at a networking event and sat down and had lunch together, and just knew right away that there was a connection. And we obviously share much of the same audience. Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Well, I always felt inspired to make the world a better place, to inspire lives, to have the opportunity to live their grandest life visions. It's something that's been in me since I was a kid, studying things like Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer when I was like 8 years old. So it's like I never wanted to read anything but self-help books. Like that was my thing. But I went after my dreams. My father's an Academy-nominated screenwriter who wrote films like Officer and a Gentleman, Blue Lagoon, and I had that role model in my life of somebody that went for their dreams and achieved them. And so I also went for my dreams my entire life, and I went to try to make it in the music industry as a recording artist and actually an MC. I rap a little bit, and I did it for 10 years, and it was amazing to follow my dreams, but ultimately it wasn't fulfilling me at the level that I was called to serve. And I wanted to help people where I could tangibly feel that I was changing their lives. And basically, it was also that I was getting to a place when I was trying to make it in music that things weren't working. I'd gotten into a state of mind where I was looking at life like I was kind of the victim mindset, wondering why I wasn't yet where I wanted to be and frustrated about things not working out. And I basically kind of all the elements of my life started to fall apart, and I got really sick. And I had chronic fatigue. I didn't know it at the time, but I had to kind of pull away from everything in my life, friends and my job and relationships. And I got about a month of time where I was just in bed. And during that time, there was this quietness that came over my mind, and it reconnected me to the kid who had read all those books and who knew that there was a different way to live life, one in which, instead of being the victim, I can actually create my results. And once I reconnected to that in that space, I made some decisions in my mind that I was going to take a leap of faith, get out of the bartending job that I was in that was supporting my music dreams. And I moved to Hawaii, and I started a coaching business. But I started it from the place of saying, this is my time. I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I had a motivation to change my habits and start a whole new way of living where I was actually in alignment with universal principles versus just talking a good game about it. And from there, I think that energy of the mindset that I established during that time, it carried me over through, building this business, attracting clients, and then continuing to have my vision guide me and move through challenges, breaking through comfort zones, all the things that come up along the road of building a business. I was willing to get through those terror barriers. And that is kind of what's brought me to where I am today, helping people, having helped hundreds of entrepreneurs, being able to inspire people to make more money and ultimately live their visions of their life at the level that they truly desire to. So it's been an awesome journey.
And I know it's been a long journey. We had a conversation just last night about how sometimes we look at some of the gurus in the space and how they make it look like they went through this horrible thing, but then they just turned it around. Something snapped, and then it was just boom, instant success. It hasn't been that way for you or myself either. It's been a long struggle, and we've had our challenges, and that's a big part of it. And that's something I think that you and I talked about, is that going through that. You talk about your story with the bartending job and how that was really where it all started. How did it go from starting off as a coach and wanting to help people to live their dreams to really focusing in on enrollment, on conversion?
Well, when, like a lot of people that I talk to, there's a lot of the coaches and entrepreneurs I talk to that they are naturally kind of more inner game specialists. Transformation, like yourself, is like their natural gift. And so they're up against this challenge of, how do I pick a niche, right? How do I find this thing that is going to attract clients to me? And I don't really want to do the outer game stuff. I want to do the inner game. That was me. I wanted to just inspire people. I wanted to be like a Tony Robbins, but I also was learning from great teachers that were saying, you've got to find a niche. And once I started to say, okay, I'm going to pick a niche, and it's going to be, first it was going to be artists, because I'm creative. And then as I thought more about it and I got more clarity, I said, entrepreneurs are like artists, and I really want to help entrepreneurs. So I made a decision that I was going to help entrepreneurs. And I always wanted to help people be more successful. And when I started thinking about, well, what is that? To me, it was helping them make more money. Now, at the time, I wasn't making a lot of money, and it was kind of crazy for me to think that I could help people making money. But I'm kind of follow the law of attraction thinking, which is that, I focus on what I want and I believe in it, and I create it out of I create that reality out of my thoughts. And so I followed through on building a business that helps entrepreneurs to be more successful in their business, but ultimately that inner game piece was always there. And so as I got more and more refined, I worked with more and more clients, I started to realize that where the inner game piece for me is the most alive is in the sales conversation, because my gift is presence. Like, I have a gift of being present with my clients, being present as a speaker. And so I know that when I am in an enrollment conversation, that presence is why I'm so effective. And so I started to think that's where my dime is, being on my dime, the thing that I am meant to do here. And I can bring all this inner game in to enrollment. And that's where it clicked for me. And once I started sharing that message with the people on my list and the people that I serve, it was just a fit. And so that's why I started helping people with that. And because it's where I can create the most immediate shifts for people. Like the little tweaks that I could help my clients with, they make dramatic changes where they double and triple their income within like a week, because they make a shift in their packages, they make a shift in their beliefs and mindsets, and next thing you know, they've got an opportunity to enroll a client, they've got all these new upgrades, and then boom, great things happen. So that ability to bring in the inner game and at the same time help my clients tweak things that quickly made results was why I moved into doing enrollment kind of primarily.
And I love, first of all, that your gift is presence. It's one of the things that is, last year was one of my 3 major themes that I was focused on. And when I focus on that theme, it made me really be very conscious of when I wasn't being present and how many challenges I had around that. So the fact that that's your gift, that's a wonderful thing to be able to share with your clients. And the idea about helping them with enrollment, and we'll get into kind of what that means and how you can actually help people. It's so powerful, because I think it's one of the things that a lot of us heart-centered or soul-centered entrepreneurs, and especially coaches and healers, have this challenge. And some of it comes from, like you said, the inner game, the limiting beliefs and the things around money and our service and our value. So being able to address this is such a major need. There's a major need for your services in this space.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I work primarily with women, and there's men that I work with, but primarily it's women. And there really is a need to help them, because in a lot of ways they haven't been trained in really the skill set of being able to have a conversation that's where you can be powerful, in that, like, it's not about being pushy. It's never about being pushy, but there's a power that needs to come through that sometimes the women that I talk to who are very heart-centered, they're afraid of, because there's a fine line between powerful and pushy. And it's scary to be like, am I crossing that line? Like if you're talking to a prospect and they have something that's really dark or deep that they need to work through, it may feel like pushy if you have them go into that pain and say, what was the worst thing that happened to you? It may be pushy if they have a concern. It may feel pushy if they have a concern about your services and how much it is to sort of hold that space for transforming that. However, that's where the opportunity to get that client and really help that client is possible, because it's in those moments where you are powerful in the face of their challenge and you don't pull back from fear of being pushy. It makes people become sort of people pleasers and soft. And so when you pull out the people pleaser role as a coach, you become the friend. And no one wants to hire the friend. They love the friend. They get great vibes from the friend. They may even get great value, but they don't want to pay the friend. And you need to step into the expert, the authority in those sessions. And sometimes I think women have a hard time knowing that line. And so it's what I'm great at is helping those women step into their confident self. And from that, it naturally comes that they can be powerful in those moments. And ultimately, that's about their self-worth. When I talk about that confident self, it's about really rewiring or helping them shift beliefs that have them believe that, they're not either worthy of generating clients at this level, or that, something that may be in the way from them being powerful in that moment. I help them step into their truth. And from there, it's a natural fit for them to be powerful and enroll those clients. It's awesome.
It really is. And I think that's one of the reasons I really felt connected with you right away, was that you talk about sales and conversions and all of these things that a lot of people get uncomfortable with, but you do it from a very spiritual, soul-centered place. And that just comes through very clearly and authentically from you. But some people may not even understand the word enrollment, especially if they might be newer in this space, or just not familiar with that term or how you're using it. Tell us a little bit about what you mean by enrollment, and more importantly, why is it so important to master the process?
So enrollment is something that, we're always have an opportunity to engage in our life, whether it's, to enroll a client to work with us through a sales conversation, if it's to enroll our kids to, do the right thing, eat the right foods, if it's to enroll our spouse to understand us better, or to instead of being against us, be on our team, whatever it may be. There's conversations that are coming up all the time. And what is really coming back to this idea of the people pleaser, I think the people pleaser is the thing in all these different areas of our life that have us really being a disservice to the people in our life. Like if we're the people pleaser to our kids and we give them, you know, candy and stuff when they need to eat good foods because we want to please them, it's hurting them later in the road, or it's hurting their health, right? If we're a people pleaser to, let's say, our spouse, then they're going to, you know, not be able to respect us and give us the respect we really want. There's a variety of things that happen. If we're the people pleaser in those conversations, like I already said, it's going to be that friend energy. So ultimately, enrollment is about enrolling people into a vision. And it's their vision. It's not your vision. That's the cool thing, is that the way to help somebody kind of influence them to work with you, if you will, in supporting, you know, this vision, is to help them to get the vision they want. So it's a real cool conversation where it's all about serving, but when you, it's interesting because it works with the flow of the universe. When you serve, you know, it naturally comes back to you. So in order to get a client, to land a client, to have these things that come to generate more income, it's about giving. And so all these enrollment conversations, they're never about here's my widget or here's my service and look how good I am and I'm going to, you know, do my little dance. It's all about what is your challenge from getting to that vision? You know, what is your vision and what is your challenge? And, you know, let's talk about how we can break through that challenge so that we can help you get there. So that's what it's the essence of that enrollment conversation. And I think there's all kinds of areas in our life where mastering it is going to be helpful, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're in sales.
Yeah, one of the things, because I had asked you about that last night, that the importance of the enrollment conversation, you talked about kind of the fear of conflict and understanding their own value. Tell us a little bit more about that fear of conflict.
Yeah, so I was talking to this woman the other day, and her issue was that, you know, she was afraid of picking a niche that was external, even though she had already thought about working in the health field. She really just wanted to do the inner game. And when I got to the bottom of what was it that you are, what was the reason why you're making this choice to not choose this external niche? And she was having a hard time getting clients. So it was like, I knew that was what it was about. She said, conflict. I don't want people to, if I say that I'm this thing and I can help people in this way, I'm afraid of the backlash. People are going to, you know, come at me and say these things. And so I said, so you basically have this limitation where this fear of somebody, you know, confronting you about stuff is stopping you. But the real question is, how many people are not getting your help because of that issue you have? Like, isn't it more important to move through whatever it is that's in your way to help the people you're meant to serve than being stopped by our own personal stuff? She was like, yes. So ultimately, you know, I said, what would your life be like if confrontation was no longer something that stopped you or that you were afraid of? And she said, wow, like it opened up for her that her relationship with her husband would be different, her relationship with her kids, like everywhere in her life, confrontation avoidance was causing her to step back and take a sort of a role that was fear-based. And so the power in your life of, again, going from being the people pleaser to being the authority, and being not the authority that's the boss who's, you know, all about telling people what to do. It's not a power play. It's that best self of you. Stepping into that, it's not about confronting people where you want to have arguments with people. It's about being like in this place where you know that you can handle anything that comes at you. And, you know, I often say this mantra that says, when I do this before I get on calls with clients, and I teach my clients this, when I don't know what to do, that's exactly when I know what to do. All I have to do is something now. The answer I need flows through me. No problem is pervasive or permanent, right? I can help any person in an instant, right? So I say these things because it gets me in this mindset where I can, when I don't know what to do, that's exactly when I know what to do. That means that no matter what comes at you, conflict or whatever, you're in your best self and you're prepared for it. You don't have to combat it. But when somebody comes at you and you're in your best self, you can actually be calm and be like, thank you for that perspective. I appreciate that. Would you be interested in hearing my perspective on it? And suddenly what you were afraid of, this conflict, becomes an awesome opportunity for depth of that conversation. Now, that's turning conflict into an advantage in your life. And I think if anyone who's listening can get what that would do for your life, if you were able to turn that, I think you can start to see the magic that's possible there.
Absolutely. And I think that's really great when you talk about enrollment. You know, we have enrollment conversations all the time. And so the same benefits that we can get out of our sales enrollment conversations also help us throughout life. And you made a lot of really good points on that. the process itself, though, the way that you do it, and we can just tell from everything that you're sharing here that your whole attitude, your perspective on sales and on enrollment is different. You have this really spiritual energy about you. What about the process itself? How is that different from other sales conversations or trainings on sales conversation?
Thanks so much. I think this is a really important question because there's a lot of schools of thought about, how do you give value in a sales conversation without overgiving, right? What's that line? Because it's for heart-centered entrepreneurs, it's very easy to just go with the giving, right? And so they're like, I'm just going to coach this person. And we find that when you just coach them that, they may be full at the end and be like, I got what I needed. Thank you. And we all know that they didn't really get what they needed. They got the quick fix. And so it's a disservice ultimately to be coaching them at that level. And then, creating this idea in their head that they're good, right? That's all they need. Not that they're not good. They're great, but they need a lasting transformation. And you're not about the quick fix, right? So it's a disservice. So so I get that idea that over delivering on value. Then we have the other side of the spectrum. And the other side is, you don't coach at all. You just ask great questions and you make an offer. And that's very much what I see a lot of in terms of training out there, where there's really a holding back of giving value, giving coaching. So I don't think that works because there's too many people who are offering services similar to everyone right now, their strategy session, their sales conversations. I'm not a believer in kind of the big picture of competition, but there's a lot of options, let's say, for people to work with. So if you don't create an impression in that first conversation that has them think that there's not going to be anyone that's going to top that experience, then they're not going to want to work with you. They're going to think about having maybe a conversation with someone else that they might have as an option. But if you do create that experience that's unlike any other, then you have a really good chance of them working with you. So my process is to create a conversation unlike any that they've ever had in their life. It's where it might be intimidating just to say, wow, like, am I really good enough to do that? Well, that's what I help people with. And it's much simpler than you realize. It's actually taking the concept of coaching, which is about really helping and empowering people to come to a place of realizing that they created the problem in the way from the solution they're seeking, that it isn't an external thing that's stopping them like they perceived, but that they created this whole thing. And in fact, their emotions is a pattern that is creating a result that is not in harmony with their desire. Now, they start to see that it's not about an external thing. It's about the emotion. Like when somebody says to me, I'm discouraged because I'm not making enough money, what I say to them is, the reason you're not making enough money is because you're discouraged. You see, we flip it, right? So when we help these prospects understand that they created the problem they came to us for, and they get to a place in that call where they say, oh my gosh, I created this. And then that you go, yeah, and that's too bad, right? That you created this all these costs and all these things that you don't want because of this pattern. They go, yeah. And then go, but guess what's great about it? You have an opportunity now to change it. We're no longer in this place where it's out of our control to change our circumstances. That awareness has them say, wow, no one's ever taken me there in an hour conversation, because most people who are doing enrollment conversations are surface level. What's your challenge? Well, it's challenges that, the economy, the challenge is that I don't have enough money. Those are external things. When we put our problems and challenges on external things, we're powerless to change them. When we put it on ourselves, we go deeper into, well, the challenge is my limiting belief that I don't feel like I'm good enough. Now we know that that person knows it's up to them to change that limiting belief to get to what they want. And that level of clarity is game changer. And it has them say, no one's ever done that for me. And now it's like, how much is it? Like, I want to know, what does it look like to work with you? So they start moving toward you, and it's actually a process where they're leaning in, and you just can be like, sit there and basically decide, do I want to work with this person? Because they're self-selecting. And now it's just a question of, if they have concerns about the money, handling those. But it's no longer any pushy, trying to get the client. It's really about, I just delivered such great value. Now they come towards me. And that's why my conversion ratio is 75% and higher.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I think anybody who's been in that sales conversation can, one, relate to the power of that conversion rate of 75%, but also that what you were talking about right at the beginning, where they may have been taught to give good value, but then they give too much, and they feel like, oh my gosh, why I gave so much, why isn't this person signing up? And then that resistance to being like, just like you said, asking the questions and basically strategizing on how to get them enrolled without actually giving value. So you've got a really nice middle ground there.
That middle ground.
Yeah, and I love that. And the whole idea about creating a conversation that they love and that they feel great value from, that is really, really valuable. I want to know a little bit more about some of the steps. How do we enroll more clients? And you've got a great bonus gift. So anybody who's watching right now, you can just click the button below and download that, or you can go to inspiredmessengersnetwork.com/script. I don't want to be giving away the whole farm, but the script tells a lot about it. You want to tell us a little bit about the gift and how we can actually use that to enroll more clients?
Yeah, so the gift is cool because it's a really simply laid out enrollment script based on what I just shared with you. It gives you the exact words that I use, and it does it in a way that's very easy to follow. And so it takes you through, taking them through how do they go through these steps. And so it's called the magic formula. And so there's these 5 steps of this process. And in this script, you're going to get what those 5 steps are. And, basically, it's a movement of taking somebody from, I'm a victim to I'm a creator. And then ultimately it's about asking them, what's the cost of this thing that you're creating? And then, you're going to say, okay, they can start recognizing the cost. And then you're going to say, how committed are you to changing this now? And then you're going to get them to commit internally to themselves that they're committed, that this is the time. And you're going to get them externally committed by saying, I'm a 0 to 10, where are you? And get them to actually come up with a number of how committed they are. And so as they get committed, now the next question is, now that you can work with them if they're at a 6 or a 5, why are you at a 5 when you're in control of this? Like, what's up with that? And that's where you might say, I might not want to work with this person because this person's not taking responsibility. I love working with people that are like, I know that I've done this. I see it now. I can change it. I'm a 10, right? And so you might need to coach them through that, or you might need to be like, they're a 5 and there's resistance there. So, that's a good sign for you, and it's a good way for you to not output energy when you know that it's not a fit. But ultimately, you get them to a place of a 10, and then you're going to tell them about what it looks like to work with you. So now that they're at a 10, they're leaning towards you. They're at a 10 and committing to changing, which has a lot of resonance with a 10 to possibly working with you, right? So you've gotten a heat check on their interest level, and you can confirm that they're a yes energetically to work with you. And that's what's so great, is that now when concerns come up, which is part of the last step in this process, you can handle those concerns using a little framework that I share with you in there that spells out the word cards. But basically, once you've confirmed that they're a yes, then you move through acknowledging that concern, and then you reframe that concern to give them a more elevated perspective of the thing that they were thinking like. And then you're going to ask them, does that make sense? And then you're going to get them to agree it makes sense. And then you move past that concern. So the concern handling has its own steps that you'll learn about in this thing that you're going to get. And so it's all in there. And the other thing is that it also gives you access to a video series where I'm going to teach you even more about this. If you're inspired by this and you want to learn, some more stuff on it, you also get that when you get this gift. So it's pretty cool.
And you obviously have had great success for yourself in your own programs, enrolling people into your programs. But you've also mentioned in your bio some of the other people that you've worked with, like Ted McGrath. Is it the same formula working when we're enrolling other people for other programs that you use for yourself?
Yeah, it is. It was the same, and it transfers over. I work with people who are health coaches. I work with people who are relationship coaches. I work with business coaches. I work with personal development, spiritual coaches. And so a big question that comes up is like, because I help people step into their value. And one of the things we haven't talked about a lot today is sort of how do you step into owning, you know, that you deserve to generate like high ticket for your services. And a lot of the heart center people I talk to, there's a lot of stuff that comes up about that. And, you know, they're overworked and, you know, they're not generating the kind of income that they want. So what's cool about this process is that it doesn't only work for business. It works to help people see the value in your services, no matter where you are, who you are, what kind of niche you have. And so it works across the board, and it's working for me when I help these other top 7-figure coaches with their sales teams. It's improving their results.
And one of the other things that might come up for some people is just the word script, where it feels like, okay, I don't want to read a script, even in introducing the show. For me, it feels like, well, I want to get this information out, but I also don't want to be reading a script. So great question. How does that work?
So here's the thing. I told you at the beginning that my gift is presence, right? My gift is my present is presence. So this script is not a do what I do, follow what I follow. You know, it's not a copy me. It's really understand this concept, understand these 5 movements, integrate them into who you are, because one of the things that I didn't say earlier when you were asking me the difference between my sales process and others is that I brought the essence of coaching into sales, like the essence of transformation, the essence of coaching. So it's really the step-by-step is the natural movement of helping people move into a place of taking control of their life, right? Which is what coaching is about. So so this is not a script like, you know, follow the leader. This is a script of understand this framework, read through it and get that framework clear. It's ultimately, it comes down to just a few questions that you are asking, like 5 questions that you are asking, and all the other stuff is additional sort of detail. Those 5 questions are the framework, and that is something you integrate into who you are. Then I want you to be present on your sales conversations, because all this, you know, reading a script while you're trying to sell, not so much. Now, you might do that the first couple times just because, you know, you're breaking eggs, you want to get used to it. But the way I've designed this is that you don't actually need my script. Once you've read it a few times and integrated, you don't actually need it on the call. You just simply need to have that stuff, like those 5 questions, they're very simple, and then be present with them and watch how that presence with that structure in place transforms your business, basically.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that really helps people understand better that you call it a script, but it's not like just a fill in the blanks type of thing. It's more of a conceptual understanding. That's great.
Thank you for asking that.
Absolutely. I know that for me, I think that the questions and the feelings that come up for me intuitively are often the same questions that our audience has. So thank you for addressing that.
Thank you.
One of the other things that you had offered was talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that people make. And I think part of that might be around the value and maybe some of the high ticket stuff. I'm curious to hear your perspective on what you think are the 3 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make in the enrollment process.
The first one is that they're not getting the math clear before they get on that call. So when money comes up later, you know, they're kind of like, they're not solid. And that's the point when you need to be solid. Like, somebody's about to pay, you better know how much it is to work with you. You better know those payment plans. Like, if you're not great with math, then have it out in front of you so that, you know, you've broken down, like, because what I like to say is, like, there's a variety of ways that people can join. You know, they could join you in the, you know, paid in full. They could join you in payment plans. You could come up with a way in which there's a deposit and then a different payment structure so that they can, you know, put more down now and less payment plans going forward. I believe in that flexibility. I think it's also good if you want to just make lump sums, that you do the paid in full as, like, you know, a really good incentive. There's a variety of ways that you can structure. That stuff needs to be thought about before you get to that place in the call. And what I find is that most entrepreneurs do not think about that. So that's the first thing that will change the game for you. The second one is something I referred to already today, and that is about being the authority. The mistake that they're making is, again, being the friend energy. It's about understanding that there's these postures in the sales conversation and enrollment, there's 3 different places that you can come from. You can come from the friend energy, you can come from the inferior energy, or you can come from the superior energy. Now, when I say superior, it may sound like you're better than. It's not like that. It's just a state of mind where you're the coach. And so there's a variety of things that you want to do that are going to establish that authority. Your prospects want to know that you are in control. And it's a safety thing for them. And the more that they feel like you know what you're doing, the more they're going to feel like they're with an expert. There's a much better chance they're going to want to work with you. So there's a few different things you might want to do that are going to help you to set up that authority experience for them. And I won't go into all of them, but I'll say that one of the most simple ones is the way you start the conversation, because how you start something is how it goes. So if you start things on a willy-nilly kind of thing where it's like, hey, how's your day? And then it was like, good. And then they say like, well, how's your business? And you start telling about your business, and then you say, let's get into you. And then, but the whole thing is off because they got you to start opening up and all this stuff. And you didn't really say, look, I'm excited about this conversation today. I'm so stoked that we have a chance to get to know each other better. Let me lay down an outline of what you can expect, and then we'll get started. How does that sound? Right? So that's the communication of somebody that's a leader, that's in charge. So that's one way that your authority can shine through. And the other way is, don't be afraid to cut off your prospects when they go off on tangents, because there is like this loss of control that happens when they go off on tangents, and you're wondering, is it rude? I don't know this person that much. There's not that much rapport built. Is it rude for me to cut them off? But this is kind of going on, and don't let it go on and on. Just say to them, hold on a second. I'm gonna stop you for a second, and I want to let you know that I may cut you off from time to time in this conversation. But the reason is because we only have a short time today. I want to give you as much value as possible in the time that we have. Is that fair? Right? So it's a very kind way to cut them off and let them know you're in control, and that's not necessary for the work today. We can get to what we need to much quicker, and I'm going to show you how, right? Things like that. I mean, you can just start to feel like the relationship shifts into one in which they're with an expert. So that second thing is, of course, how you show up as the authority and not the people pleaser. And then the third mistake that entrepreneurs are making is the way that they bring up the money in the offer section. What they're doing is that they're saying how much it costs before they've confirmed that the person is in. And when I say that they're in, it doesn't mean that they're committed 100% to working with you, but that they are a yes. But there's other layers. Like once you ask them, is this what you're looking for? And they say yes, then you say, okay, let me share what it looks like. This is the program I recommend. And then you explain the program. You say, does that make sense? Yes. And then you say, okay, great. Here's the length of time, the logistics, the program delivery. Does that make sense? Yes. So you are confirming in each of these little places. And then once you confirm these steps, then you say, okay, great. I'd like to share with you the investment to work with me. And then you can go into that. But it's coming from a confirming steps, opposed to just like, oh, and the price is this, and then you're all off kilter and all this stuff doesn't work. And so it feels awkward to you, it feels awkward to them, and it undermines all the great work you did earlier in the call, and ultimately causes conversions to drop. So that's the 3 biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs are making.
I love it. Nice, very, very clear and simple, and some good tidbits that people can start, they can take away and use right now. Especially that conversation starter, setting the intention for the call. It really, I think, puts your client or your potential client at ease as well, where they're like, okay, now I know what to expect. They also, that whole, even the cutting off thing, for me, just intuitively as you were saying that, I felt put at ease as well, because again, I think a lot of people that come to us for coaching, they need that structure and that self-discipline that you're providing for them, even in just this warm-up call. So like, oh, okay, I know that if I get into a call and I've got 1 call each week, I know that I'm going to get the most out of every call that I have with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are great. And then the last one, the money offer. I think that's the one where people are most uncomfortable. I think that's the area that most people know that they may not do so well. The idea about the intention at the beginning is really, really clear, and having your pricing knowledge, but how to lead into that, I think, is the place where most people are most uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that's the place you need the most work, if that's the case.
Definitely. Well, again, anybody who has it, if you're listening to the audio instead of the watching this video, you can go to inspiredmensengersnetwork.com/script to get this process, this gift from you, or you can just hit the little button right below the screen and download his bonus gift. Now you have a live event coming up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your live event?
Yeah, so my live event is called the High Ticket Breakthrough Experience, and it's going to be an event unlike any that has come before. And I've had this vision of this event for years, and it's been building. I told you I was a musician before I did this, and so I'm a spoken word artist. I'm a wordplay kind of master. I mean, just to toot my own horn, like I've got the 10,000 hours. I can do incredible things with words that can transform lives. And so even before I was doing coaching, I was all about inspiring lives through words. So now what I've done is I've made a hybrid. This event is an experience unlike any other because it's got personal development, breakthrough work. It's got sales training. We're going to be looking at the enrollment conversation. How do you attract leads consistently? Another piece of it. It's attraction. It's enrollment. And then it's got this part of creativity. So the creativity is not just used so that I can communicate a new sort of way of looking at things in rhyme and in some cool ways that will integrate the learning deeper. But the creativity is also a way for me to role model. How do you bring more of your creative energy to your business? You know, we compartmentalize ourselves. We say, I'm a business coach. And then over here, you know, people have this gift of, let's say, and when I say creativity, like maybe it's math, you know, maybe it's sewing, maybe it's for you, it's swimming, maybe it's surfing. I don't know. Your creativity is yours. It's not about art necessarily. It's about that natural gift you have. Well, what if you stop compartmentalizing that and you started bringing that in to your business? You might say, well, people will think I'm crazy. But the thing is, aren't those the people that you want to attract, the ones that see you as who you are? So the more we bring in our gifts, the more we are freed up for being ourselves. And then we get to attract the people that we're meant to serve. So this event is about mostly it's about getting more clients, generating more income, breaking through your money blocks, breaking through anything that's in the way from your business, going to 10K and above on a consistent basis monthly. And it's at the core about how you can step into the authority from the people pleaser. And the reason why that's related to creativity is because the people pleaser, I was saying all these places where people relationships are affected by you being a people pleaser. But the one thing I didn't explain is how you're also affected by time and life itself by being the people pleaser. The reason, if you have time management issues and you can't get ahead of your schedule and you're like running behind and you're always rushing, the reason is because your schedule is your boss. You get it? Like, the authority in your life is your schedule, or it's your clients, or it's people, it's obligations. That's all about not having control of your life. So this event is about stepping into a new identity. It's actually your true identity as the authority or expert within. And from there, you're going to be able to attract more clients, be able to attract more of the ideal people you love to work with, and you'll be able to enroll more of your ideal clients, increase conversions, and have more freedom in your life where you're not compartmentalized, you're yourself. And what is that going to feel like? What's that going to be like for you to be your true self in every circumstance in your life? So I would love to make, an invitation to anybody who feels called to join me at this live event. I've got a super early bird offer going on right now. It's only $297. It's going to happen in San Diego, California. If you're interested in this, email me at Shawn, SEAN, at thecreativetrack.com with a TRACK, like a railroad track, thecreativetrack.com. And just mention that you're from the Inspired Messengers Network. And let's talk about it. I would love to have you there. We're only going to have 25 people. It's going to be an intimate group. It's going to have some entertainment, and it's going to have some transformation, and it's going to have some breakthroughs in sales and in your ability to sell and enroll. So I would love to have you there if that's calling you.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know that just your energy alone will be worth them showing up. Like you said, you attract the kind of people that you are. So you're going to have this room with 25 other incredibly high energy people to support them through this process.
Yeah, and if you're not high energy yet, you know, let's get you in there and let's raise it up. You know what I mean? Because you know, and it's not about raw energy like you know, the Tony Robbins concept. It's about high vibration, right? It's about that vibration that attracts everything you want and allows you to show up in your best self. That's high energy, and will bring you into that state if for whatever reason you're not there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, along with your live event, you also do these programs you're telling about other people enrolling. How do you set up or work with, or if somebody is more interested in working with you one-on-one, can they do the same thing? Can they just email you and set up a conversation with you?
Yeah. So I would love to have a conversation with any of the people that, you know, you're connected with. I mean, I have such respect for everything you do. I know you're attracting the kind of people that I would love to talk with. And, you know, here's what I would say if you're called to just have a conversation with me. I want you to just take in that this could be the game changer conversation. You know, it doesn't have to be about us working together further, but if you gave yourself the gift of having an hour with me, I just see the results in time and time again. So my confidence is based on competence. I've seen it. I've worked with hundreds of clients. They get results. I will help you. I will shift some things. I will give you some new belief structures. I will give you some new ways of approaching your business and enrollment or sales that will change the game for you. And so I would love to have a conversation with you. If you are inspired to talk, then just email me also at Shawn@thecreativetrack.com. And we'll have a fun, inspiring, empowering conversation to help you step into the next level of your life and business.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. And so, yeah, I do encourage anybody to reach out to Shawn, get connected, and I know that you'll get a lot of value just from the conversation. Now, one of the things that came up for me as I was talking and thinking about some of the questions that I'd like to ask you is that I've been taught sales. I've had thousands of dollars in training for selling other people's products for my corporate job, all this other stuff. But when you're doing it, when you're basically selling yourself, there's a little different. And I think part of it, like you said, was that value and how much you value yourself. When I'm trying to figure out how to ask how to balance that, you know, that very authentic, the process that you're offering, and some of the mechanics of addressing some of the concerns or what we call objections, you know, in the sales industry. So if somebody comes up with things like, oh, I'd really love to work with you, but I don't have the money, or I'd really like to do that, but I don't have enough time in my schedule right now. I'm spread too thin.
Yeah.
Do you go over the mechanics of the sale as well as kind of the overall bigger vision for your process?
Yeah. So I think you're asking me, do I have sort of a system for being able to, you know, the handling a concern or something like that?
Yeah. And then again, in sales, it sounds kind of cold, but it's how do you overcome objections? And I know that's not going to be your perspective on it. It's not overcoming objections. What is it?
I call it collapsing concerns, because a concern comes up and it's like a wall, right? And so you collapse that wall, and now you're on the same plane, you know, because it's about you helping them see that you're on their team. And the best thing you can do for the people that are potentially going to work with you, or the people that are working with you, is for them to see you as a trusted advisor. So in those moments where they have worries, fears, concerns, objections, it's a great opportunity for you to demonstrate that you are with them, that that's what makes it so easy, if you will, and not confrontational, is that it becomes a process of working together. And the mechanics behind it is that a concern, the mindset, one of the core mindsets is that the concern is really just a question in disguise. So any concern that you get, I want you to think of it from this point forward as a question. And so really what you want to do is you want to acknowledge that there's a question, and then you simply want to share a different perspective of that. And basically that's the answer, if you will. So, you know, what you want to get is that whatever your prospect is at, you can't take their current mindset, their current thinking at face value. It's not in service to believe them, in a sense. to see them, what you want to believe is who they're becoming. That's the law of attraction really at work. You see beyond who they're now, you see into who they will be. And with that place, you come from a higher perspective. Just like if somebody says, I can't afford it, and you say to them, well, what if in 6 months from now, you doubled your income and it was like the game changer experience of your life? What would you say then about this decision to not choose to double your income? Wouldn't it seem a little crazy, like that you would trade staying in this place where you don't have enough money for possibly moving into having a double income experience? Like, that's just simple, you know, kind of way to reframe a question. And what the best way, the reason I illustrated it in terms of future pacing in that particular example is because you can see that they're just looking into the future, which is an elevated perspective. They're in the present. They're seeing things that are just now. You're like opening the, you know, kind of the window, and you're helping them see up here, which is the future possibly, or the next level of their beingness. Every concern that comes up comes often from a present moment sort of lower mind. Your job becomes to elevate the mind, elevate the conversation to, well, if you think that it's about time, not having enough time, if you think that this is going to be more time, you know, here's what I want to share with you. This is about you actually getting out of the mindset that your time, you know, deficient. And the work that we're going to do is we're going to have an experience for you where time is no longer going to be the thing that's in the way. Now, what would that be like for you? And is it really okay for you to go back to your time problems? Or what if this was the experience that transformed them? So there's always a way to elevate the conversation. And what I like to call it is painting paradigms. You're painting paradigms. And sometimes, you know, like I painted a paradigm for a client where they had made a decision to work with me. Then they decided to back out. I had a conversation with them about it. They were certain when they got on the phone that they were not going to do it. They were scared. I painted the paradigm that the person who made that decision in that moment when they said yes was the part of them that was the bigger part of them that knew that there was something deep within them. They were scared then too, but they listened to that bigger part of them that knew that there was somewhere that this decision was going to take them that was more important than the present moment stuff. I represented that vision to her. And I helped her see that she's at a precipice of two roads. One road that leads to continuing to let the small mind control her. And I said, what are all the costs of basically not listening to your intuition? Oh my gosh, everything, right? Staying small, not raising her rates, not going to where she wanted to in life. Now, the other choice is to start becoming somebody who listens to your guidance more and stops letting the smaller mind control you. Now, it's scarier. It's a more uncertain road. But it's the road that leads to greatness. It's the road that leads to you being a leader on stage one day, looking out in an audience of hundreds of people and having this same conversation with them because they're going to be scared to invest in you. And you can say from a place of integrity that you trusted your gut over your fears. I just painted a new paradigm. Who do you want to be? The one that stays stuck on the road and continues to let the small mind control you, or the one who steps into the leader who is going to take the faith-based road? And in that faith-based road is the opportunity to be the person you ultimately want to be, which is a role model for greatness in the world. Once I confirmed that new paradigm and I painted that picture, and I said, does that make sense? They have to confirm it. Once a human being confirms a new paradigm, it collapses that issue, because there's a psychological principle that says if you agree to something, you won't go back on your word. It's a part of our human makeup. It's a sales trigger. It's just something that we do. If you go to a dress store and they say, you look amazing in that, do you love this? And you say, I love this dress. Then they say, well, you know, here's how much it is. Are you going to get it? And you say, no. There's a natural feeling of being out of integrity. How are you not going to get something that you said you love? So it compels us to follow through with our commitment and say yes. And that's why there's some of that tension energy in sales. So you want to know that this is happening. And so when you confirm a new paradigm, it collapses it. It's gone. It's actually case closed, question answered. Let's move on. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
It really is. And that's another great example of how the sales process or enrollment process, whatever you want to call it, doesn't have to be about manipulation. or persuasion. It's more about empowerment. You're really coaching them in that call to see the bigger part of themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an empowered enrollment conversation. That's what I call it.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's an empowered enrollment conversation. Fantastic. So, and I think one of the other benefits that comes out of it, you talked a lot about, we would touch on it first and you went in deeper about their value, because that's another thing that happens when they get these empowerment conversations, is that they see their own value, and therefore they're able to give more value. And then these other side effects happen. They can raise their rates. They end up having more time, less money, and all those things.
Yeah. So the bottom line here is that we undervalue ourselves at such an alarming degree by nature. It's like from birth, we're like focusing on what isn't good and what we're not doing, and we're ignoring all of the wins, right? It's like, you've probably heard of those exercises where take out a piece of paper and write down, like, in the last 5 years all the amazing things you did, and then point to each one and say, I did that, I did that, I did that. Pat yourself on the back. It's like, we don't do that. We're always like, it's not good enough. And, you know, and so it's this old school thinking. And so ultimately the work that I do is helping people step into focusing on all the great things. Like when you say, if you help somebody, let's say you are a relationship coach and your thing was, you know, somebody who was on the verge of getting a divorce, and then you had a conversation, they worked with you, and then, you know, you ended up helping them patch that marriage up, and now you talk to them, you know, 3 years later, and like they're thriving. You think about that impact that you can make on a life like that. You're like, what's that worth? Like, is that worth it? Is it worth less than a, you know, $400 car payment? Is it worth less $300 a month? Is it worth $1,000? You know what? That's worth millions of dollars if you can do that for people. Oh my gosh. Like, and you are that valuable. You are that valuable. And I have this vision for entrepreneurs of being the new professional athletes and movie stars and film stars, or music superstars of the day. Like, they're great, they're awesome, they make millions, but they don't change lives like we do. I want you to see the value you're bringing to lives and realize that you deserve to step your mindset up to realizing you're worth millions, and that it's never ever about, you know, overcharging somebody. It's always about undercharging, because once you understand your value and you step into that, then you might think, oh, that's mean, oh, it's rude to overcharge, all, you know, all this stuff can come up. But what you don't realize is that if you believe in yourself and you come to a conversation and you sell a high ticket, a 20,000, a 30,000, I mean, whatever, right? And you sell a big ticket thing, and you own your greatness, and you bring that owning of that greatness to each of those calls, what you're doing is you're creating that value each time you're with that client. You're creating it because you bring your greatness to it. And when you start seeing how your energy, your authority, your expertise is the value that you have, your best self is infinitely valuable, then you start thinking, man, I'm going to change these clients' lives. And for that, it makes perfect sense for them to invest at a high ticket, because it's a great win-win for all of us. So lots of stuff I could talk about on that, but I'm very passionate about helping entrepreneurs get through anything that's in the way from them realizing their greatness, their value, and just their magic inside.
Well, that would be a perfect wrap-up line. So I hate to end it by asking this, but we are at the end of our hour. Are there any other final words that you'd like to share before we say goodbye?
I would just say that I say this to people that are, you know, prospects that are interested in working with me. And what I say is, this is something that has to come from within you. It's the idea that, you know, there's another level that you know that you're called to move through. It's inside of you. It's calling you right now. Tap into that. If you feel called to come to this live event, if you feel called to have a conversation with me, I want to suggest that you listen to that calling, because that's your guide. And what you don't know is that higher version of you, it has plans for you if you'll just let it take you there. So all the fears about how much it's going to cost and all these things that come up, and all the things are so small compared to the breakthroughs that are on the verge for you in whatever that next step is, whether it's with me or something else that you're interested in. Trusting that gut. that's my best gift to you, because it's never about me saying, work with me. It's about, are you called? And if you're called, I would love to have a conversation with you and see if it's a match. And I would love to inspire you to believe in this next level that's coming. So that's my final word for you. Trust your gut. And it's been an absolute pleasure. In fact, I have to say, one of the best interviews and experiences I've had, doing this kind of thing. It's just really fun to connect with somebody like yourself that I can be able to communicate that really matter to me. And I know you get it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I feel the same way. When two people like this get together, it just creates this really wonderful energy that everybody can feel. And I do want to encourage everyone to download your bonus, get in touch with you. You're just a wonderful person, a great contact to have in this world. So thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I want to thank everyone who is watching. Remember, again, if you haven't already, you can go to inspiredmessengersnetwork.com, sign up for free, learn more about the network. Most of all, I want to remind you that you are a brilliant light in the world. And it's very important for you to keep shining brightly. So thank you very much. Namaste.